Stepped out already?
That's possible.
All right. And so, I also want to thank Mark Wallace, who allowed us to be on WVON 1690. Next person coming up, two people, Willie Preston. Is he here? Willie? He's gone. Next we have Nate Sutton, and then William Moore. Nate Sutton, come on up. William Moore will be next, and then after William will be, is John Petrusic here? John, thank you. I didn't recognize you sitting there, sorry.
Well, good evening. How's everybody? All right. I'll be really brief. I
State your
am
name for us again.
Nate Sutton. I'm the dealer principal owner of Sutton Ford in the Matson Auto Mall. So we've been in the south suburbs 30 years next month. Thank you, Lord. So all of you know the plight of small business. As property taxes have increased, of course, the small business owners have taken, as everyone in the room is saying, their unfair share of the burden. Our property taxes are $35,000 per month. $35,000 per month. It has resulted in us expanding our family business, not in Cook County, not in the south suburbs. So this is really economic assault, as you can imagine, because it's simply not sustainable. So as you see businesses flight, if we go 3 miles, 2 miles west, the property taxes for small business drop 40%. 40%. So it puts us at a significant disadvantage, right? Because now my cost of sale is substantially higher than and even compared to Orland, which is still Cook County, we're about 25% higher than Orland Park. So it is just a compounding effect of, why you can no longer shop and do all of your business in the village of Matteson. So whatever effort, or any way we can help, we're willing to help. And I just want to say, on behalf of small business owners, it is becoming, or has become, cost prohibitive to remain and do business in the south suburbs. Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is William Moore. I'm an attorney, and I have been pretty much practicing. My focus has been in foreclosure defense in Cook County for about 20 years. And so I'm downtown on the 28th floor in Chicago, and I've seen a lot of people that come into the courts with issues. And as you heard when Pastor Stratton stood up, he talked about a modification. Some of you others talked about modifications. Well, one of the problems is when people go after modifications, one of the biggest problems with trying to get a modification has been because of the tax issue. So the banks, when they said the banks need to do their part and all that kind of stuff, the banks were doing their part, but the problem is nobody ever looked at the tax issue. And so a lot of modifications won't even go through, right? And so one of the things, I'm going to propose a solution. If you have, in terms of this issue, if you have a foreclosure and you have a pending tax appeal, then they need to stay that foreclosure until there's a resolution. That's one of the things that maybe they could do. Maybe they could put legislation to stay foreclosures where you've got a pending tax appeal. The other thing is, one of the things that we've noticed is a lot of, I used to work for Cook County. I worked under Todd Stroger. I was over the Bureau of Planning. And one of the things that they were doing when Todd Stroger was in office, they said because of a half a penny sales tax that Todd Stroger was running everybody out of the county. Well, see, he's long been gone, and we still got a problem. So it wasn't about Todd Stroger, it was about these high property taxes. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of these businesses. We've seen Cracker Barrel, we've seen Target, we've seen all of these businesses. They run out of Matteson. I'm a resident of Matteson. They run over to other communities. Well, one of the things, I'm going to propose another solution. They need to have, at the state level, where we follow the tax. So when I go and I shop and spend my money at Cracker Barrel, they're getting that sales tax. Have a portion of that sales tax come back to me. I don't care if I'm shopping in Tinley Park or I'm shopping in Springfield at McDonald's, a portion of that sales tax should come back to my community. Chicago, if you buy a car, I think the residents have to pay a sales tax. Chicago gets a 1% sales tax. They're going to get that money. Why can't we put our zip code into a cash register and have that money come back to our community? The other thing I want to say is there's a lot of vacant buildings around here. And so one of the things I did was I worked with Elder Seals. I looked up, there's an owner that's out of New York or Boston somewhere. Philadelphia that owns 2 of these malls out here. They look horrendous. Yes. There's garbage strewn out all around. The parking lots are unpaved. Hold those out-of-state owners accountable. Yeah. And if they don't want to be accountable, work with them. You got all of these vacancies. How about you let us lease some of these offices? Chicago has a program called pop-ups. Why can't we put pop-ups in some of these vacant buildings? We need to do that. I heard Mr. Sutton talk about his taxes. I looked up one of those property taxes sitting over there on those vacant auto mall, $1 million. There's nobody in it. The properties are going to waste. We need to hold these vacant owners accountable.
One more minute.
One more minute. So, the other thing I want to say is we also need to create a program at the state level, create a program to assist homeowners that have lost their homes to foreclosure. Give them payment assistance. Give them rebates. They can do this kind of stuff at the state level. And it is a shame. When I look at this tax problem, and I'm going to say it, if you go into Republican communities across the state, Phoenix, in Arizona, you look at these states, their property taxes are low as all get up. But when you come in our Democrat areas and they want our votes, yes, I vote Democrat, but when they come in our areas, they want our votes. But what are they doing? I looked. Listen, let me tell you something. Right now, the census is coming out. The 2020 census is coming out. They use that money to determine where the money is supposed to go in impoverished areas. The problem, why do our communities continue to look like the same as they do? It's not working. Say, open up your doors. Tell us who you are. We're going to put the money into your areas. I learned this because I was a bureau chief down in Cook County. I know how it works, right? So they put the money in the low areas. They say, we're going to put it there. No, they don't. They don't put it there. The politicians come in, they take the money, they give it to their friends and their family, and our communities continue to look the same way they do. Yes. So we need to do a program like this homeowner. So I'm going to recap. State foreclosures where there's a pending tax appeal. Hold these out-of-state and absentee owners accountable. Do a tax share. No matter where I'm shopping, that money comes back into my community. And the other thing, put a program to assist homeowners. My name is William Moore. I'm not running for any office, but I want this problem fixed. Nothing. No, they need to do something about it.
All right.
Thank you, Reverend Attorney Moore. Next person speaking is Mr. Petrusek. I say it right, John. He's with the South Suburban Housing Center. The reason I went and asked him when I saw him, I didn't recognize him at first. He's part of a 3-pronged lawsuit. Matson is represented in that. And Matson also needs to pay membership to your organization if it hasn't already. Membership is paid by the size of your village. But he's representing Matson. He's also going to talk about the lawsuit that comes out that he's a part of with Brighton Park and Logan Square. He's going to give us a little update, and he's better prepared to speak to that. Welcome.
Elder, what's the name again, really quick, just so for record?
John Petrusek.
John Petrusek, I'm the Executive Director of the South Suburban Housing Center.
The South Suburban Housing Center?
South Suburban Housing Center.
The 2 Hispanic community organizations, Brighton
Talk up a little bit.
Brighton Park and Logan Square filed a civil rights lawsuit against debt assessor Joseph Barrios for inequities in the tax assessment practices that were affecting their community. As soon as that lawsuit was filed, my organization got a hold of the attorneys that were involved in that and told them that the communities of color here in the south suburbs need to be represented and have a seat at the table at this lawsuit. We volunteered to represent the south suburbs, and we became a party to this lawsuit. That was originally filed back in December of 17. We joined the lawsuit in March of 18, a few weeks before the Democratic primary. In the Democratic primary, Fritz Craigie beat Joseph Barrios. And then went on in the fall following that to become elected assessor of Cook County. The lawsuit there was a motion to dismiss that was filed that was delayed because of actually the judge waiting to see how the political process was going to play out during the election to see what was going to happen. When Fritz Craigie was elected, he made a number of promises to reform the system. It is our obligation to make sure that he follows through on those promises. He and his attorneys and the state's attorney have convinced the judge that they are reforming the system. Because of that, the judge is poised to dismiss the lawsuit. We are in the process of trying to negotiate an agreed order to dismiss the lawsuit at this time. We're not going to be able to go forward. We're trying to get as much as we can through this negotiation as we can, but I'm not hopeful that we're going to get much out of this.
Yeah.
We have to remain vigilant and make sure that the promises of transparency and of fairness that Mr. Craigie made is followed through and there's relief offered here in the south suburbs. This is a very complicated issue.
Yes.
It's a lot more complicated than I can even understand at times, but what I concentrate on is the fairness of the property values. That's what the assessor has control over. Setting the market value for the properties that he assesses, that he puts the assessments on. And we've got to make sure that those are fair. We see examples of clients coming in our office that are paying taxes on market value that is twice the value of their home, the home that they're in right now. That's not fair. We've got several examples of individuals that come out of inflated market values of their property that they were being taxed on. That is not fair, and we have to deal with that. We have to keep monitoring that, and whether or not this lawsuit goes forward, we are a civil rights organization that will make sure that the Fair Housing Act is enforced, and if we have the basis for bringing other legal actions against the current assessor or anyone that does not uphold the civil rights of this country, we're there to assist those individuals.
That's why it's so important. One of the things that we have to be honest about, we're part of the problem. 13,000 plus people out of 15,680 people that registered to vote in Matson. And Frank Anderson can speak to that. Out of that, 13,000 did not vote. So we have a problem with the fact that we live out here, we accept everything that goes on, and you don't speak out. And here we have a case where we have a new assessor who's coming through this town. We had tried to schedule him to come out to Ridge South High School. We had rented the space. We had to cancel because we could not get the support from them to even post it on their website so that you could come. But the senators and other people out here, they got him coming out. The state reps got him going around talking. But you need to charge tomorrow at his meeting at Olympia Field and ask them, why in God's name would you reduce those taxes like that? And if you don't do that, shame on you. And shame on elected officials who do not hold them accountable. Because it is unfair for us as taxpayers to put you in office and you remain silent. And that doesn't matter what your title is. Right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't care what church you go to, who your pastor is. Speak out. Because what's wrong is too many people are silent. Too many people. 50,000 to 100,000 cars drive through this area between I-80, 294, 57, and all that money's bypassing us. Because you won't invest in our communities. And so we're even asking people to bring the money back to this community. $1.3 billion is spent every year between Flossmoor, Matson, Olympia Fields, and one other community. And all of that money is leaving here. And that money should be here to help pay for our schools. You don't need TIF money when you bring this kind of business that we're talking. We ain't talking about no lightweight stuff. We're talking about major places where you can go and enjoy dinner. You can enjoy going to the store to get you the top-notch clothing, top-notch whatever you want. You deserve that. But you have to speak out. And see, now I've been begging you to do this for 2.5 years. They call us disruptive. We're not disruptors. We just don't accept status quo. And then whoever has a problem with that, God bless you. But God won't take care of this. And He promised, if we speak out, I'll raise you up. Lift up the name of Jesus out of time. They told me to shut up. I'm not a politician. I'm an advocate. And my role as a minister is to speak truth to the powers that be. And if you can't take it, get out of the seat and bring the people who have the guts and the courage to tell what's right and to end this mess, because there's no reason why Matson looks the way it looks. And if you don't stand up, and as a matter of fact, stand up. Stand up, everybody. Please, stand up.
Stand up.
Turn around and look at somebody. Turn around and look at somebody. We got another half hour, 40 minutes. Somebody say, fix it. Thank you. And vote. Next speaker is Diane Lewis Sharkey. Sharp, I'm sorry. Ms. Sharp is here, and then after that is Patrick Peterson. Where are you? Okay, Brother Peterson. And after that, John Kern, still here? John? Mr. Kern? I don't see him. Okay. Hello, God bless you. Let's go, my sister.
God bless you all. I'm just here. I just moved out to Country Club Fields. It's been about 4 years now.
State your name.
My name is Diane Lewis Sharp.
There we go.
And I just want to say, in regards to the young man that spoke, I am with you on that part about the taxes. The taxes have been going up every year since I've been there. I just want you all to understand that that shouldn't be. I was just at a meeting and they were talking about closing the schools. I have a child that's in school at Rich Central. I don't want to have to leave my home to move somewhere for my child to get good education. I moved out there because I thought it was good education. I just want you all to do what's best for every community in the suburbs, not just mine, but it's all the communities.
Right.
We need help. And if you guys can't help us, somebody can, and I believe that's God. So y'all just pray my strength.
That was Ms. Sharp. Next we have Patrick. Come on up. John, you want to start coming on up? You're the next speaker after him.
So what was your name
My
again?
name is Patrick Peterson. I live over in Trinity Creek.
Can't hear you.
Patrick Peterson, I live over in Trinity Creek. And it's funny because I got a call from a neighbor, appreciate that, of this meeting. I didn't know the meeting was happening. But we fight within our own subdivision to keep each other safe. So that network kicked in. And I got a call, and I dropped what I was doing to get over here because this was extremely important. But on the way over, I came through the adjoining neighborhoods all the way through. And I just said to myself, we've got a beautiful community. Our streets are clean, our homes are manicured. Why don't we have businesses here? And it wasn't an epiphany or anything, it was just a realization that en route over here, that became part of the question I had. It's rhetorical in nature because we know there are forces that use an equation for adjoining communities that bank on our proximity with our money, that we will go into those other communities that are prospering. You can't tell me New Lenox, a brand new farm community that has sprouted up over the last 20 years, is more prosperous from a business standpoint than a mature Matson. You can't tell me that there's no reason to have the, we can't even go out and, Pepe's. We don't have a sit-down restaurant that we can be proud of here or go out and patronize. We have to go west of here. Everything we want to do, we have to go west of here. And it's amazing how, geographically, if you've never noticed, how the corridor of our money leaving our community adjoins our path of travel. 10 minutes from here, we can get anything we want. It's moved out of our community, our mall is closed. There's not a conduit for us to spend to put our money back into our community to, in turn, lower our property taxes because the business taxes are going up. There's no conduit for that because someone has factored our money into their equation. Simply, the old saying is, build it, they will come. And we sucker ourselves into believing that it's okay to go to those neighboring communities because they're convenient. The cost of us looking for that convenience now that they factored in is our own community. And we've gotta hold them accountable. I'm upset at the whole Pete situation. The amount of tip money, we're a prosperous community. So we have to pay someone in to come into our community to take our money. I'm kind of lost on the whole concept of, if I can show you a return on your investment, I do this every day. I have to show a return on investment. If I can show you that our community has disposable income to this level, and you have shoppers that want to shop in their communities, that's an equation for any business to say, it's good business for us to move there. They hold out and they wait for us because the first thing we run to is tip money. We'll say, we'll give you whatever to move in our communities. And I'm tired of that. There's value in our community, and it's going to take us doing what we did tonight. I appreciate the stand up, because as long as we sit down and we take it and we don't vote, it's horrendous in the south suburbs. And one other quick point. In places like Hazel Crest and our communities out here that may not be as prosperous, and they have all of these vacancies, I just want to know, if you'll give me a loan for $50,000 to buy a car, but you got homes in these communities that are vacant, and they would cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 with another $25,000 to fix them. None of these people who could go from renters to homeowners can afford to get a loan because the banks don't want a loan at that level. There's no money in it. Why not turn some of that money, that tip money or whatever, into those loans that will put those homes back on the tax rolls? And now you've got homeowners that can take pride in home ownership. We got a lot of work to do, people, a lot.
John Curran.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Curran. I'm a homeowner here. I pay $14,000-$15,000 in taxes. I don't have any kids in the school system. I pay $14,000 or $15,000 in taxes. That loud enough?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't have any kids in the school system, but I'm concerned about the community. For informational purposes, the mayor is my wife. So just letting you know, everybody here know that. But I hear him talk about assessments, but you don't hear talk about levy. Assessment everybody in Matteson, I can assess your property 20% lower. You'll pay the same amount of taxes and your property will get devalued. That's because it's a levy. The levy says X number of dollars has to be collected from you. If I lower your assessment 20%, I still got to collect this amount of dollars, so your taxes will be the same. So I just want everybody to understand there's assessment. So when someone lowers someone's assessment, it doesn't necessarily mean that their taxes went down. They lowered their assessment. If they lower a large group, then who's picking up the difference? And if you have the same total divided by the same number of houses, and you say, hey, the value of my house, because this is what you're doing when you're doing going in for lowering your assessment. You're saying the value of my house is low, and that's fine. We accept that. Value of everyone's house is low. Amount needed is still the same tax. So you have to be careful when you're hearing they did this with assessment. It doesn't directly relate to what they did tax-wise. And that's what you have to look at. As far as changing the system, Democrats have a supermajority, they can do it. But it's hard to get that supermajority to agree with something. Because now, let me see, I lived in Wilmette. They had slab houses, 3 bedrooms, 300,000. Little tiny bedrooms. School system. That's why that house maintained its value. School system. While we out here were, other communities were restructuring their cost structure of their school system, including the one right across from Harlingford from us. We added a 4th high school. And people, don't be fooled, you have 4 high schools. You have 800 people in each high school. You have one of the highest cost structures in the state for a high school system. 80% of your taxes, 40, close to 40 for grade school, close to 40 for high school, go to your school system. Your school system is what can calibrate your property values. Where I live, I'm the Homeowners Association president, and there's some people here who walk through the community. I enforce everything. So I have houses, I have 151 houses, we have 150 occupied. We have one that's going to through a bank situation. I'm trying to get the bank to sell it low to an investor to fix it, sell it. Or they fix it up. The reason they are getting amenable to that is they don't cut the grass, I fine them. Residents don't do what they're supposed to do, I fine them. So I'm the bad guy to 10% of the people who live there. The 90%, and I go to the silent majority, to the 90% is good. I also have, our values are in the 350s. They're not going to go to 400 unless you improve the school system, period.
That's why the tax doctor's report was saying we need to get the schools off our taxes. Because you'll never work out the equity that's necessary. And the other thing that the Weisberg report and the Trim report speak to is that the equalization ratio is unfair. So if you change the equalization ratio across the state, so that across Cook County, so that the big pie is split up in a better mathematical process, so that just because you live and you pay $2 million, you pay less taxes. Right. So the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. But you got to speak up. You can disagree with that all you want. But there's something wrong with the system when some communities can get a tax reduction and Ford Heights is paying 34% on their homes. That is ridiculous. And it's documented. Next coming up, we have only got 2 more people left. Brother Layton.
Yes, God bless you. Yes.
Come on.
Am I up now? Okay, cool. Let me put my pen. Okay.
Now, Layton, I know I heard you speak before, and you can go on and keep going and going, so we're going to hold you to about 5 minutes. All right.
I would like to say that we depend, of course, too much on property
State
tax.
your name, sir, please.
My name is Layton W. from Flossmoor. I live in Rich Township, though, that part of Flossmoor. I own a small amount of property. I would like to say that this country depends too much on property taxes, sure.
Yes.
And we're one of the most prosperous states, yet we have some of the lowest state income tax. We don't have a real progressive state income tax system. We've got a lot of wealthy people, and other states have progressive state income tax systems. If you raise the property taxes, the local taxes, the rich people can just run out to the next township, the next county, the next state. If we have federal progressive income tax and state federal progressive income tax with progressive Democrat politicians, then they can't run. And we get the money that they get sitting on their butts, $50 million, and we tax it 50%. We get $25 million to spread out to necessary communities that need help. And Adam Smith, the father of capitalism, said, government exists to do that which business is unwilling or unable to do that which the public wants or needs. And so that's, I think we should be replacing the politicians with progressive Democrat politicians and progressive income taxes to tax those wealthy people sitting in their butts and making huge, obscene amounts of money. I heard statistics lately, and I heard statistics lately that as of a couple of years ago, the richest 80,000 people in the world, 1/901% of the world's population has 51% of all the controlling wealth. We need to take some of it back. God bless you.
What you doing, lady? I stepped out to get a breathe, then you done ended up all that. I was just saying matter of fact. Yes, sir.
Can I say one thing real quick? I'm sorry. We moved out here about 3 months ago, my wife and I.
What's your name?
Come up.
And after that, brother,
I'm sorry, y'all, I'll be real.
that's all right, don't be sorry.
Get to the point.
Write your name down so we have you on record. But give him your name first, you can do that after.
My name is Kevin Sampson. My wife and I just bought a house out here about 3-4 months ago. Mostly I've just heard a bunch of opinions from everybody and what everyone is going through, and we all understand that. It's a problem, it's an issue that we have. But I have not heard once, what are we gonna do? Are we getting on buses and going to Springfield or wherever we need to go? Or this is like one big stationary march. Like every time you see something go on the news, young black guy killed or something, everyone goes and march, and then it just happens again, and again. Like everyone just stood up here and told their personal opinions of what's going on with their taxes. We all know we got high taxes. We got it. What are we about to do? What's the next step? Do we need to sign? Do we need to talk to someone? What do we need to do? Okay, that's my question. That's all I want.
That's all right.
We sat back here for I want to come back in 4 years and we be up here with our socks.
What's your name again? Kevin Sampson. Amen. Name Sampson. Get up out of here, brother. Let me make a quick announcement to you. But he's right. He's absolutely right. Brother Brian, come on up. You're next. That'll be our last speaker. Give him 5 minutes, and then we're going to have Q&A so we can answer that question. Okay.
I just want to say, Brother A.C. Green was here earlier, and he was on the radio. He made specific. He wanted to make sure Representative Flowers and legislators, this is not a show. When she stands up and legislator, we're going down to the governor's office and demand what we need. So we're going to take it to the next level. Like I said, he was impressed with the turnout. He's on board 100%. He has a national radio, so we're going to stick him moving.
All right.
Brother McGraw, and then we'll have Q&A.
Thank you.
Well,
Well,
you've heard some very
State your name.
Brian McGraw, C9. You've heard some very, very powerful testimony. And generally, that's what happens. People initiate action. We get roused up.
and then we fall off. But I'm asking each of you today this one question. Are you fed up? Get up and continue to stand up.
All right.
We've heard many different aspects of why taxes are high. But I'm imploring each of you, do your own research. Find out the why. We talked about levies, but no one talked about that is an ask. So someone is asking for an amount of money. We need to find out why. Do you need that amount? Most won't tell you, most of the taxing bodies decreased their levy this year. It was a small percentage, but it was decreased. So the issue is, why are you asking for less now? Because there's more focus on it, right? We're paying a lot of dollars in additional funds because our towns were structured a certain way, right? But we have to learn to frame our own narrative. We're in this room, but no one knows what goes on here in Manchester. No one knows what goes on in Country Club Hills. No one knows what goes on in Olympic Fields until you start having a voice. We can no longer wait on our officials to take action. We have to demand action. We have to be people to get up, mobilize, and ensure that these things are getting done. We can't wait to give them our spiel when they come to our doors and say, I'm going to tell you what I want you to do because you're going to get my vote. No, we want to make sure that we're involved in the process because it's impacting us. The Urban League did a study on the wealth gap, 1963. The wealth gap is still the same today. So what are we going to do about it? Because what we do is we get in this circular reasoning. They ask for more money, we ask for more money. And so then they ask for more money, and we ask for more money. But we don't have any balance. So I'm asking each of you today to get out and make sure you talk to your neighbors. Have the hard conversation. They say you don't talk about politics. They say you don't talk about what's going on. We've been conditioned, a lot of us have been conditioned to just dwell in our own plight. But we have to start asking the questions. Someone mentioned people don't vote here. It's egregious that you're paying what you're paying and not participate in the processes. These people are only representing a microcosm of the people here. You're talking about 10% of the people here are putting people in office to represent you. You're not voicing your own opinion about what's happening to you. So it's not on them. It's not on me. We're trying to do what we can. It's on each and every one of you. It's incumbent upon you to get up and let your voices be heard. Frame your own narrative. You live in 3 of the top 10 communities, African American communities, in the United States. There's no way that our communities should look like this with what we're paying and those communities are ranked. Data is there, but we have to research it, we have to understand it, and we have to do the quantitative metrics. We can't wait for someone else to give us what we want. We need to be telling people what we want and support it with data. We have all of the intellectual capital in these communities that we need. We just need to tap into it. And if people are in positions that cannot do them, we need to get the right people in. That's the bottom line. So this is not about just having a hearing, because we always hear it. It's about action. What are we going to do? And what are we going to continue to do? You know, we failed in the sense that our young people are looking to us that they don't have hope because we've been so busy that we haven't shown them how to fight for their lives. This is about us now more than ever, bridging that gap. And I implore and ask each and every one of you, when you go home tonight, don't just leave here tonight and say, I was encouraged. Leave here tonight and say, I was inspired. And move with this hearing and this committee, and so that we can make a difference. This room, touch one, touch your neighbor. Tell them how important it was. Tell them what they missed. Demand that they come. Most of you don't see them anyway. This is a garage door community. That's part of the problem. So we have to become accountable. This is happening to us because we allow it. So from today forward, let's not allow it. Let's move our community forward, and let's not only be proud of what we have, but make our young people proud of what we do.
We're due to be out of here at 8:30. But I'm gonna break the rule and ask that we stay, as long as we get out of this building, I'm asking us to end at 8:40, because I want Laquita to come up, because the pastor that was here, who's having the next hearing. But I want her to come up, and then after that, I want to open the floor for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then what I'm gonna ask you to do, instead of gathering out in the hall, when we break to go home, please go out the building, so I don't get the complaint that we stayed too long. Amen? The sound system is out in the library, that's why we don't have a microphone. The projector system is out, so we made do with what we have, and I think we've done well, right? Yeah. So thank you for coming. Laquita, give your name and who you represent.
Okay, hey everybody. I'm reluctant to come up here. Actually, they pulled me and they asked me to speak, but I think that it's important to say what it is that's on my heart and my mind. I grew up here, and it's just a beautiful place. Lincoln Mall, we had all the stores, kids went to the park, we had tennis courts, it was wonderful. Then what I did, like many people, as the resources left, we left the community. We went and we moved into Lockport. Now that Trump is in office, we have a problem in white communities because, excuse this, my husband is white, but I'm gonna say this, white people now feel like they can say and do whatever they want to us when we come into their communities. So now we're running out of options because what we would do is we would pick up and we would leave and we would go into their communities so that we could get what it is that we need. And I'm saying here today, I'm back here, bought a house here about 2 years ago, that we need to stop running. And we need to start going to Tenley Park and giving them all of our money for the same stores that was just here. So if they're not gonna revenue share, we need to pull in some other businesses. I didn't bring my black son back to a black community to leave again because they continue to raise our taxes and give us nothing for it. We're sitting in this room just like, and I have to say this too, when slavery was in play, I'm sure some slaves were saying, hey man, this is never gonna change. We're gonna always be slaves. You need to put your head down and pick that cotton. I'm standing here before you today not picking cotton because somebody someplace had the gumption to stand up and do what was right and fight for our people. So I'm asking you today, and also myself, to fight for our people, fight for our community. Let's make this happen. Let's make them regret that they raised our taxes and have them come here and beg for our forgiveness.
Let's open the floor up. Man, I gotta be disciplined because there's so much I want to throw out. Madison, you have $750 million meeting income. Did you hear that?
No.
People in Madison, you represent close to $750 million in median income. $750 million is in Madison. Median income. That's a lot of money.
Sure is.
$1.3 billion is spent between 4 villages. That's a lot of money. Sales tax money. And so when you think about this meeting, and I'm saying to that senator that's sitting here, Mr. Hastings, you got to fix this problem.
I'm the only representative here from America.
That's nice, but that ain't good enough. Because you've been the senator out here long enough to know that we got a problem. And I'm saying to you, sir, you're part of the problem because you have not done enough. Not only is we disrespectful, but you cannot come in this community and see the depth of pain that people are suffering and you have a community center right next door to you, and you move out and it has never had major operations and programs built, where is the economic development? So we have to hold you accountable to please come back. And come back and meet with us and tell us what's been done to address these problems. There's not a voice in the Southland that's talking about these issues. And you're our senator, and the state reps are not here, and we're asking you all to please raise your voices, because as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done enough.
So, since in Springfield we say, if my name was used in debate, I have an opportunity to respond, which I think is very important. To the Sampson family in the back, thank you for moving to our community. I've lived out here my entire life. I've wrestled at Rich South High School. I've played football against Matson Bears. You name it, I've been here, regardless of whether or not you know me or you don't know me. But I will say this, over the last 7 years, I am extremely proud of the proactive measures that we have taken as a legislative body, number one, to consolidate government, to give voters the opportunity to vote to dissolve their township if they don't feel as if their township is doing their job. We've put at least $500 million into our education system. Why? Because you ask your local school board every year if they've raised their levy, they have. It's our state mandate to fund education by the Constitution. By the Constitution. And that's why I sponsored the Education Funding Reform Bill, which fixes the inequities between the haves and the have-nots without robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now, I will tell you this. You look at the state on your property tax bill, where do you see it? Where do you see it? You don't see it anywhere. Where do you see the people who are taxing you? Where do you see it? Name one entity. Mosquito Abatement District. I don't know what the hell they do. They tax the hell out of you, though. I pay the same damn taxes you do. Why the hell do you think I ran for office? Okay, let's look at our elementary schools. Our elementary schools, they've raised taxes every year. Why? Because they have to keep up with the cost of their employment. Look at the high school districts in our area. We got one in shambles. One in shambles, no doubt in my mind. And if that problem's not fixed, that's not controlled by me, that's controlled by the school board. So the question is, what you gonna do? You gonna blame me? Or you gonna go to your school board meeting, meet with your school board president all the way down the chain and say, look, why are we gonna spend $200 million more on improvements? Or you're gonna raise my taxes another $2,000, $3,000, that's fine. Okay, look at your community colleges, what you getting out of them? You actually are getting a lot of value out of your community colleges. Huge. Prairie State Community College, awesome. South Suburban College, awesome. What are you looking at in your university systems? Governor State University. They got a new board, they're about to get a new president, they're about to get a whole lot of investment. So the question is what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm voting for government consolidation where it's needed. Where it's needed. Should a road district be there to plow 3 miles of road? Hell no. Are they going to tax you? Hell yes, until you dissolve them. Right? That's true. You want to talk about, and listen, I've heard these arguments for the last 7 years. And you got your village officials are here in your meeting right now. You can talk to them about why retailers don't want to come to whether it's Markham all the way down to Matheson. And I'll tell you the number one reason outside of property taxes is government instability. Because you know what? It's a revolving door of trustees, it's a revolving door of mayors, it's a revolving door of people who can't get along with one another. And that's the damn truth. I don't care where you live, from Markham down to University Park, it's a revolving door of chaos. And guess what? Guess what? You know what? You gave me an opportunity to speak. I got the floor, as they say in the church. I'll say this. I'll give you 1 minute, that's fine. Who is responsible? The voters. I'm responsible, you're responsible, everyone in this room is responsible. Why? You voted us into office.
That's right.
And you know what? Tell me what you've done and tell me what you're going to do for me tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to keep on my path of fighting for kids going to mental health centers because they need the treatment. I'm going to keep on fighting for more education funding for our schools. This ain't no political speech. This ain't no BS. I know where I am and I know what y'all say about me online. That's why I'm here. So look, you can accuse me of everything in the world. You look at my record, and I promise you this. I've spent 7 years in the Senate fighting for you. Fighting for you. You know why? We haven't had a damn representative out here. We've had a representative out here for 20 years and ain't done shit. So there. You guys can take that. God bless you all.
All right. Come on, thank you, sir. Thank you for his comments. Yes, sir. State Representative, as she comes up, or you can stay right there if you like. But you didn't mention economic development, so we want you to come back and we want you to tell us what economic development is being done to bring monies and businesses back to Madison, because we should have it here.
And no, I'll touch on economic.
And so that's all right.
That's fine. Here's what I would like to request, though. Let me just make sure I make a request. I'm not in charge of making decisions for the village of Madison. I'm not in charge of making decisions for the village of Hazel Crest, Markham, all the communities out here. That's your village board.
That's right.
So I would love to have that meeting with all of our local government entities here as well. So they can explain to you why things are the way they are. Hey, real quick, it's easy to point the finger at somebody who don't look like you, someone who don't talk like you. It's easy to point the finger at somebody. Let me tell you what, you better read and really know what's going on in your community, because if I start telling you everything that goes on in Madison all the way north to Hazel Crest, you're all going to want to vote. Trust me, you're all going to want to vote.
You already told me.
I'll tell you at the next meeting.
That's another meeting. We're going to honor our state rep.
Yes.
And we don't do no cussing in these meetings. We don't swear. This is not, excuse me, this is not the government. This is our community. You have not heard me swear not one time. You've not heard nobody else swear in our meetings. When you come back, sir, please remember that. I ask that out of respect.
I'll come back with a clean mouth, I promise you.
Clean heart.
God bless you. Clean heart's always clean.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you to the last one of you for coming out tonight, voicing your opinions. This is your community. These are your homes. And you have allowed other people to come in and dictate. But see, what you didn't know, and the purpose of this meeting, because a lot of us didn't know what we didn't know. And so we're here tonight to educate you. Did you know that our assessor was discriminating purposely in our community? Did you know that we were paying for the wealthy taxes? Did you know our small business was paying for the tall buildings, the tall skyscrapers? Did you know that? And so if you knew it and didn't say anything about it, then you're just as guilty as Bevins was. And so, but now that we know, the purpose of me being out here, because I'm a long ways from my district, I haven't even had this meeting in my district yet. And I understand exactly what it is that you all are going through. I've been in office for 35 years. And I grew up on 63rd in the community of Englewood. Englewood, how many of you are from Chicago? I knew that. But let me tell you, may I tell you what happened, please? 63rd and Halsted was the second busiest of Madison. We had Sears, we had Montgomery Ward's, we had Weebles, we had theaters, we had dining areas, we had great schools. I grew up across the street from Chicago Teachers College. On my block, I can go from elementary school to college and never leave the block. Not the neighborhood, I never left the block. I learned archery, I learned singing, I learned dancing right on the block. Right on the block. And so we had great communities. But in order for other communities to be prosperous, they had to come in and rape and rob us of our dignity. Now, we wasn't aware of it. It was no major red flags because they was accusing us of being liars, cheats, and thieves. And that's the reason why the stores had to close. But it was all based on a lie. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, the history of this country has been based on a lie. And the truth will set us all free. And we're here tonight We're here tonight because we know we've been lied to and we've been burdened and our homes have been taken and our children have been robbed of the wealth that they are entitled to. Quite frankly, we only have had 400 years. We have been out of slavery for a mere 400 years. But currently, right now, today, it will take us another 200 years to kind of build up our wealth in the African American community in order to have something to leave to our children. So, if you allow your elected officials to come out and say anything, or you try to go along to get along because you live in these beautiful homes, you are violating your rights as well as your children's rights. And you are helping the assessors and anyone else that want to make you pay for someone else's lower property who's much wealthier than you are. And so where is our insult level? If we can't protect our children, who the hell can we protect? And Reverend, please forgive me for cussing, but I think they use hell in the Bible. But I'm here tonight because we will have a hearing on this legislation. I want to hear from you. The gentleman that spoke earlier, he gave some great ideas because we were talking about, if you remember, I read the legislation, it talked about the short term and the long term. That's the reason why I came out here. I want to talk about the short term. And I'm telling you the honest to God truth, it's not going to be fixed overnight. There's some things that we have to do constitutionally in order to change it. But I haven't been in office for 30 years. I'm past my retirement age. And I got my pension. And I'm really set for life. And the only thing I'm missing right now is my husband, quite frankly. And I'm missing him desperately. But the reason why I do what I do is because he would want me to continue to do so. I'm not out here to play. And I'm not running for anything other than the love and the respect of all the people of the state of Illinois. Because we've been violated for far too long, and enough is enough. I want my community back, I want our respect back, and I want the wealthy to pay their fair share. Know that you cause senior citizens to lose their property. You cause families to be laying under the viaducts, in the streets. Unbelievable. We should be outraged by all of this. So I want you to get angry, but I want you to do something. I do want you to vote. And when it's time for this bill to be called, I want your presence. I want you, if you can't come down, there's a way that you can send in your voice, your opinions by way of electronics. But I want you to be there. And if anyone is not advocating for you, if they're not speaking for you, tell them to stay out of your face. Because you have a priority, and it is you and your family. And there's nothing wrong with that, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to just stop for a moment and just ask the audience, are there any questions or concerns that we can answer? Yes, ma'am.
I have a solution. I am Shirley Johnson from Olympia Fields. I would like to know who is responsible for calculating the tax bills the way we do it, with these equalizers and the tax rate. Let us just get rid of all of that and just have a flat tax across the board to determine 10% of whatever your property value is, that's what you pay across the board. Why can't we do that? And if not, who do we need to see to get something flat tax across the board so we won't have the disparity with all of these different tax rates?
Okay. What they did out in California, the people passed Proposition 13. Proposition 13 been on the books for 40 years. Now, there are folks in California who see things a little different because when they first calculated Proposition 13, they made it at a 2% ratio across the board for everybody, which was a big mistake. So Walt Disney out there paid the same 2% as Cliff will pay. So now the people out there is in an uproar because of the disparity. If you look at it from a point of view that if your property is worth $200,000 and we had a 4% formula that will not change, that's your cap, and it progressed no higher than 7% for residents. But then when you get over to the investment side, it would be a little bit different. But still, they will have a cap, okay? And see, let's keep in mind one thing. We have to be fair on the business side and on the residential side. Right now, it's like this, and us in the who own homes, we're getting real, okay? But we still gotta make it fair.
So how do we do that right
We got to
now?
have-
Who do we have to
We
talk
have
to
to
right now?
have, we got to work with our state reps to put a referendum on the ballot.
That's what this meeting is about.
Okay, so when will they do that? Will they,
Yes.
when
Well,
are we
as,
going to do that?
as she's telling you,
Okay.
you got to
Okay.
have some constitutional amendments, because in 2020 is when the fair tax is gonna be on the ballot for November, okay? So you need to vote for that, okay? Now, the fair tax, progressive tax is not the all in all. You've got to get the schools off the property tax system. You gotta cut the school district down from 856 to 102. And then folks got to understand.
Go ahead, what?
It's all about changing the paradigm and shift the burden off of property taxes and on how we pay for it. It's enough money out there. We just got to
Yeah,
shift.
'cause I'm giving them enough.
I know you
I
are.
pay for my house 4 times in property tax.
Yes.
And the other thing, senior citizens, after you are in a house for 20 years, why do we still have to pay tax? Other states like Kentucky, we don't have to pay tax anymore. And no matter what you make, it should be senior citizens after paying for a tax for 30 years on a house, $12,000, $15,000 every year at a whack. We should not have to keep paying property tax over and over.
There is a senior freeze.
Then I can't get the freeze.
I'm saying, there's a senior freeze, we'll talk more about it.
No, I need them to stop charging me taxes. Thank you.
Excuse me, I agree like 100%, because quite frankly, everything really cannot be fair, because it hasn't been fair. So there are some people that we're gonna have to do some things for in order to make it fair. I agree with you
And I'm gonna be
100%.
one of them, because this has got to stop. This has been going around and around, and around, and we still.
But that's the
do same
purpose
thing.
of this meeting.
Thank you.
To
Okay, I
educate
appreciate
us.
you.
We know what we
Okay,
can do.
all right, we're gonna do this action right now, let me know.
Yes, you talked about traveling to Springfield. How will we know when it's time to travel? And where does that information come from?
You will know, because we will be talking about it, we'll have flyers, we'll have public service announcements, the hearing will be posted, and then these guys, they do Facebook, so if you can do Facebook or, but it will be sometime, these are ongoing hearings, and October is when we have to have, the end of October is when we have to have a capitulated package put together. Am I right, Sam? The initial package put together. So we're going, in late October, we're going to have a package put together to start the debate and to start the discussion. So it is a process, but I promise you will hear about it.
Or
We
you
only
can
have-
go to State Rep Flowers, Representative Mary Flowers, you can go to her Facebook page. Make sure you like her Facebook page, because everything's gonna be posted on her page.
Like me, okay.
Okay.
Okay, we only have a few more minutes. Are there any other
I do,
questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Miss Sampson, and I still have not heard, as individuals, what do I need to do, this gentleman, as homeowners, to make sure that this gets fixed? Because I can imagine, we've heard testimonials, but sitting down in a meeting, I can't imagine that that's going to fix this problem. So do we need to fill out a form? Is there a website? What do we need to do to make sure that this is
At this
fixed
point, I
going forward?
recommend you to fill out the appeals form, so that'll be the easiest step. It could put you in the system of reform.
Right, but that's done every year
Yeah,
by
and just keep
homeowners,
on
right?
doing that, because as things change, they're gonna say, well, who appealed? Who did this? Who followed? Keep on doing what you have to do to the steps we take to correct it. So, and bear with us.
Young
And come
lady,
join
this is
us.
a process, it's a process, okay? And I opened my remarks by saying it didn't happen overnight, and it's not gonna be completed overnight. But if you have any problems, please give me a
No,
call.
I'm here to support, and I want to be a part of this, but I have not heard what needs to be done.
Make sure you go to State Representative Mary Flowers' page.
because every action item is gonna be on that page. And you know all you gotta do is like it, and you're gonna get the updates.
Can I ask you, because we gotta close, we have to go. The security's down there, it's 1:45 just about. Can I get everybody to just stand still for 1 minute to answer your question? Next month, on the 23rd of October, we'll be meeting back here in the library at 6:30. We open at 6 to set up. I'm asking you to come back, we'll get more information. I would like to recommend, one of the things we need to do is whenever they have the hearing in Springfield, that we get a bus of people that want to go to Springfield. But we have to close, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
He got something to say,
No, we got to go. I'm sorry, we got to go.
I'm a CDL driver, I drive the bus.
You can go outside and talk. Let me ask you to do this for me, please, please, please. We've been it's been an awesome meeting, awesome. I thank you for it. Thank you, State Rep. In light of her going through what she just went through, let's give her a round of applause. Bow your heads real quick. Do me a favor, because pick up every piece of paper that you have, straighten your chairs, so we clean it. They don't have to come down and clean up.